which I think will be fine for now. It is setting up our meeting for Facebook Live. One moment. Yeah, okay. All right. So we are now streaming live on Facebook. So, hi, I'm Rachel Pienta. I work for Wakulla County UF IFAS Extension. I am the 4-H agent here in Wakulla County. And I am coming to you live today with special guests. We have 4-H Advisory Council Chair and Club Leader, County Commissioner Quincee Messersmith.
Good morning.
Hey, Quincee. And we also have Dr. Reeve, who is CEO of Apalachee Center.
Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Dr. Reeve.
Good morning,
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Commissioner.
And then we also, so the other gentleman that you can see is Adam Roberts, and he is the communications director at Apalachee Center. And he won't be talking to us today. He is helping us with some tech support, but go ahead and wave at the cameras, Adam. Okay, thank you, Adam. So we are going to talk a little bit this morning about the events that have been happening in all of our lives since mid-March. And knowing that we've all been through some big changes that have happened in a relatively short period of time, and there are still things happening. You know, our experience with COVID-19 is not over yet. So as we wrap up the school year and we turn our attention to summer, we're going to be considering what does summer look like. Now, here at 4-H, face-to-face programming has been suspended through July 31st. Now, that doesn't mean we're not doing any programming. We have been active in our clubs. Club leaders have reached out to club members. Some clubs have been having Zoom meetings. Others have been using their Facebook groups to share videos and talk to each other and to share activity ideas for things that you can do at home that relate to the 4-H things that you're interested in. On May 15th, 4-H is going to announce their virtual summer programs. I have been working the last few weeks with colleagues across the state of Florida to develop an entire menu of virtual summer offerings. And they're going to be like the things that we usually do when we're together, but we're converting them to a virtual platform. So I'm really excited to share those with you May 15th. And I will be making more announcements about that so that you know how to access that menu and also how to register. Those of you who are very experienced with 4-H will be very happy to know that we're going to use Google Forms, which is a little bit easier than 4-H Online. Those of you who are totally new to 4-H, I want you to know that our programs are open to everyone this summer, and our programs will be free of charge. So basically, 4-H statewide is offering free summer programming, which I hope that everyone will take advantage of because it is for youth ages 5 to 18, and we have something for everyone. So please feel free to contact me about those. You can put messages in the chat box today. You can send me a private message. You can email me at r.pienta@ufl.edu or call our office at 850-926-3931. But enough of me talking. I want to talk to our guests. So, Dr. Reeve, can you tell us a little bit about how people may be experiencing coronavirus from a mental health perspective?
Sure, absolutely. This is and I should note, Dr. Pienta, this is a really interesting time because we've had experiences of crises before. Anyone who's lived in Florida for any length of time has gone through hurricane season. Anybody who's alive, who's around my age has gone through things like 9/11 and different financial ups and downs. This is a different kind of thing. It's something that we haven't really seen in a long time. And so let me just kind of paint the picture for what this means from a mental health perspective. One of the things that we know for kids, absolutely all kids, and for most adults, is that one of the things that's the most conducive to our mental health is a solid routine. And what's really interesting is when you're working with folks who are dealing with severe mental illness, which is most of what I do, it's particularly important for those folks to have a fairly structured time to get up in the morning, time to go to sleep in the night, and most of all, some structured things to do during the day. And that's really true for all of us. That's the pull to work that many of us feel. It's one of the reasons why school is an effective tool for grooming and teaching kids, is because there's an ordered work day to that. So when the COVID crisis hit, that all got upended, right? But it all got upended in this really interesting way. And I think the hurricane analogy is a pretty good one. We all know when a hurricane's on its way, we generally see the weather reports. We see the National Weather Service. We have people coming on saying, here's when it's supposed to hit. Here's where it's supposed to hit. Here's when you need to hunker down. Here's when you need to get your supplies. And then within a day or 2 days, the experience of the hurricane itself is over. And then there's the aftermath, the cleanup, which, as we know, tragically in the aftermath of Hurricane Michael can go on for years. But it's a time-limited event, kind of like the way that 9/11 was a time-limited event. There's a national crisis. The sequelae of that can go on for a long time, but you kind of get through the crisis. This is different, right? Because we're talking about a rolling crisis. We're waiting for the peak, but when the peak hits, seems to change from week to week and day to day as new data comes in. We see spikes in deaths, but maybe they're not happening here, maybe they're happening somewhere else, and it doesn't seem to have any clear resolution to it, at least in the short run. So the reason I go into all this detail is that it makes it particularly challenging from a mental health perspective to develop routines that can help give some order to your day. And that's especially true, right, for folks who are working from home and for folks who have kids where there's no school for 3 months. So all the things we used to lean on for order and regularity in our day-to-day lives, as far as schedule, routine, here's where I have to be at this meeting, here's when I have to drop the kids off at school, that's all changed. Now, for a lot of us, the here's when I have to be at this meeting continues, apace. But where you're doing that from, whether you're doing it from home, whether you're doing it from the office on a screen like this with a bunch of other people on the screens like this scattered around, that's very different than it used to be. And I can tell you for myself, and I think this is true for most people, a Zoom meeting or a team meeting or a Zoom class or a team class, that's real different than sitting in a room with people. That's real, right? That's real different than getting together with people and being physically there. It's a different kind of experience, and one which calls for a different kind of awareness of sort of what you're doing. So all that stuff has changed in a brief amount of time, and it doesn't seem to be going back. There doesn't seem to be any immediate light at the end of the tunnel for when we're going to be all gathering in meetings again. We don't know when that's going to happen. So the mental health impact of this is to pull out some of the props that we're used to. That's like, here's where I have to be here. Here's when I'm going to go get my hair cut. Well, maybe not. Here's when I'm going to go to the grocery store. Well, not if they have over 25 people in there, So here's what the impact of that is. When regular routines are taken away, they're particularly in the realm of anxiety. That's where folks' anxiety can increase. And anxiety, which is just the fight or flight response, it's adrenaline being pumped into your bloodstream to get you ready to do something in response to a perceived threat. But the only thing you can do in response to this perceived threat is to stay home and wear your mask. And it's not really enough to drain off the adrenaline. So that's when the anxiety starts to crank up. And that can lead to other things like depression for folks who are prone to depression. If there are other behavioral health or mental illness challenges, if there's a substance use disorder, folks are particularly vulnerable to those things at this time, and it's all because of the underlying anxiety, which is being prompted by the loss of structure. So I know that was a fairly long-winded answer, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. My colleagues have been thinking about a lot as we go through this crisis.
That's really interesting. You said a lot of things that really got me thinking about what I've been hearing from some of our youth and some of our parents. I know that one of the things that I've heard a lot of is disappointment. Some of my high school seniors that I work with particularly have had to struggle with losing some of the traditional markers of their milestones. And from a perspective of supporting them, you know, I have some basic skills. I've used reflective listening. I've agreed with their feelings. But beyond that, how can I, as a trusted adult in their life, or someone else as a parent, really make sure that we are hearing what our youth are telling us and giving them what is possible to give them at this time?
Well, I think there's a couple of answers to that. I think that the underlying framework of everything, because of the uncertainty introduced by the COVID pandemic, is the having to maintain awareness of the level of anxiety that everybody is feeling. And again, that comes from sort of the cranked up adrenaline. Now, for children and youth, particularly for adolescents and late adolescents, heightened adrenaline is an issue, even if everything's perfect out there, right? That's sort of that's the nature of the beast. So during this time, that's particularly acute. So things like relaxation techniques and things that can be used as exercise. I'm a huge believer in physical exercise at times like this, kind of like whatever you have to do to discharge some of that energy in a structured way. It's not a bad thing. So that's one piece of it. But the other piece, and this is something that I remember early on in this, I was driving home from work, and it was one of the days when kids came out to be part of those school parades. Remember with the teachers kind of driving through the neighborhoods, the kids would come out with a little sign saying, you know, we love you, Miss Jones. And I was really impressed by that, because what it showed was families and teachers and school systems flexibly adjusting to what was happening so that they could kind of keep the connection. And I think things like that, whether it's virtual proms or virtual graduations or particular kinds of celebration of a graduation or rite of passage, yeah, it's not like going to the big dance and it's not like going to the big party, but there's things that you can do to mark the moment that it's not just that it's better than nothing, it's that it's an acknowledgement of the time that we live in, but, and this is the big but, an acknowledgement that we've got to recognize and sort of pay tribute to the things we always would have anyway. The graduation from high school, the getting into college, the first prom, you know, whatever those rites of passage are, those don't go away because there's a pandemic, and we have to kind of keep putting energy into making them happen.
Well, I also think that, you know, and throughout this whole thing, we as adults forget how resilient children are. So they have so many things changing in some households, and then the other households that have a routine that are not, you know, any different besides they're doing it from their home and they're not going to school. That has been interesting for me to watch, is the resiliency of children.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's funny, a few weeks ago when this was getting started, I sat down with the mayor and did one of these Facebook Live events, and the mayor of Tallahassee, Mayor Daley, and I'm actually apparently doing another one tomorrow. So I'm in, you know, Facebook Live world here. But one of the things we got was a really interesting discussion, because we got into a similar conversation about, you know, how do kids and youth, especially like high school age kids, react to things. And the thing that struck me was, you know, kids by and large, it's not true for every kid, but kids are kind of fearless, right?
Yeah, of
They're
course.
kind of fearless compared to what we're like as you get older. And we can call it wisdom and the beginning of caution and things like that, but they're more fearless. So to your point, when they hit a situation like this, when there is life-threatening illness out there and all the normal rules are upended, in some ways, that's what 17 and 18-year-olds are kind of designed for.
They're just getting it a little early.
Exactly right. Yes.
We're getting it over with.
Exactly it.
Getting it over with.
I suppose that's true. I mean, it's having now in my current role with 4-H, and also years ago as a high school teacher, I taught seniors at Wakulla High School and watched that process of transition and role change that seniors went through in high school. And it was very interesting to watch the transformation really from the beginning of the school year till they were ready to, fly the coop and go off to college or military or work or wherever they were headed. And it's, different youth kind of approached it in different ways. And I think I've definitely seen that during this time. And really with all ages of our 4-H youth, the kids actually have been really inspiring with some of the things that they've come up with. Some of our 4-H youth, I love, for instance, what our horse club kids have been doing, the Bits and Bridles Club. They have been making videos, some with horses, some without, but demonstrating things that they have learned in club and skills that they've mastered, and then sharing it. And that is really neat to watch them reflect back those things to their peers and club leaders. So I think giving them, providing those creative opportunities to one, connect, and then two, to showcase their accomplishments. For me, it's important to give them opportunities like that. One of the things that we're working to do with 4-H is to create opportunities that make sense and fit youth and meet youth and families where they are at this point in time. But I'm kind of one of those people who, is a soft, gooey marshmallow. And so I'm always looking for the kids who, really need me to, my usual life, reach out and hug them, right?
Like stale marshmallow. I like the soft, gooey marshmallow analogy. Okay.
Yeah. So soft, gooey marshmallow.
Cool. Awesome.
Right. So that said, some of this isolation stuff is definitely a challenge for me because I can't be with the kids like I normally am. So, but it is definitely encouraging to me to see our kids adapt and continue to thrive even with the challenges being thrown at them. Quincee, what type of challenges have you been, what's personally been a challenge to you, or something that maybe even has surprised you during the last month?
3 guesses, and the first one doesn't count. I can't hug people when I see them. So that is the first, and I would not have ever thought of that as a challenge before, but now it's like whoa, stop. And then they're looking at you because they know you of, oh, that kind of thing. And this, I just wanted to circle back around. I actually homeschooled my son his 11th and 12th grade year of high school quite some time ago. So when Dr. Reeve was talking about the things that were really important with resolve to daily things, the solid routine, the ordered work day, the relaxation, physical exercise, obviously food, the challenges that we see now, actually, I've been trying to look at it as they aren't challenges. We just need to do a better job of making sure that they're covered. And so that kind of is a broad, thing for me with resolve to parents that are like, have never had to be with their children all day long. And they have now their routines upset, the kids' routines upset. And so homeschooling is very interesting.
I bet. Well, it's so interesting too, because it's like I think people are temperamentally, there's there's a whole range of folks who can be great parents, but there are some folks for whom temperamentally that's just really what they should be doing. And then there's folks who have to struggle a little bit more with it.
Of
right?
course.
And so I think for folks who are temperamentally parental, sort of by nature, there's ways in which this is not, I mean, it's challenging, but it's not overwhelming because you get to be with your kids all day and you get to do that thing that you're talking about where you actually have this kind of interaction that you know later in life you're not going to have. Then there's other folks whose temperament doesn't line up that way.
Right.
And again, they can be great parents too, but it's going to be more challenge for them because it doesn't flow naturally to, oh my God, you mean I've got to be around Johnny for 12
All
hours
day long.
day after day after day. And that's, you know, the thing about it is both of those things are okay. It's just, you know, to exactly your point, there's just things you got to do to get better at it. And if it's not your natural strength, you just develop that.
Right.
I think one of the things that's really good to remember at times like this too, is that one of the things that you see when you do a lot of research on child development, which in sort of a previous life I did, was that if you approach things with kids with sort of caring and empathy and love, and you're looking out for their best interests, there's a million different ways to parent right. There's also a bunch of ways to parent wrong, but those usually have to do with, you know, hatefulness and neglect and abuse. And as long as you're not going over on that side of the line, you can be a quiet parent, you can be an engaged parent, you can be a happy parent, you can be a calm parent. None of that stuff is wrong. So I think this is a time.
We don't get a manual, contrary
exactly
to
right.
belief.
It does not come along, right?
It's different.
They don't hand one out the delivery.
No,
no.
I can assure you that my son, yes, no. If I had had a manual with him, that would have been quite interesting for both of us. But you know, it always works. Exactly. And the other thing I think about being at home with your children, and for this being, you know, a totally different, I hate to keep going back to the word routine, but it is in essence a not normal routine that we're in right now, is that parents feel, you know, judgment and criticism for too many things prior to this experience. So hopefully with this experience, it will make them feel better of, hey, I fed my kid today, I'm doing great. Like, chill out. There is no time. We don't know the time.
That's perfect way to put it.
Did you like that?
I like that very much. That
Good.
was
I mean,
a much better way of saying.
We talk about it all the time, and there goes that word again. And that, okay, well, next week we are going to X, Y, and Z. Well, no, has anybody checked with how do they feel about opening their doors, or what does, you know, what is the governor's press conference saying today, or how are Leon County schools going to do graduation? So maybe Wakulla County schools should monitor that. There is no manual to this at all for anyone.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Rachel, did that answer my challenge?
I think thank you.
You nailed it.
Well, and in terms of that whole, you know, routine and supporting parents, I think that's really the space that Wakulla 4-H is really trying to fill right now, is to provide some choices for parents to give some structure to kids' days. And that's what we're hoping to provide this summer. Our virtual programs are not going to be sitting in front of a computer for hours at a time. There will be some screen time, but we're going to create it in such a way that we're encouraging kids to do some activities that we're going to provide some guidance on, and then give you some chances to interact with each other and adult staff, and then also to create some things as well. So I'm hoping that that'll be fun. It won't be, you know, it won't be going to Camp Tampucci for a week, and it's not going to be getting to be out on the archery range or in the horse arena, but I believe we are going to get back to those things very soon. And I am looking forward and planning ahead with Quincee for the coming 4-H year. So we're already discussing open house. We're already planning for things like our chick chain project in the fall and Ag Adventures Day that we take fourth graders to in Quincee. So Quincee the city, not Quincee the
I
person.
was gonna say,
Surprise, Quincee!
I was curious about that.
I didn't tell you were going to do that. No, just kidding, just kidding. So that said, it's interesting because we're planning summer and we're going to talk about all the things that are possible for summer, but we're also doing a lot of anticipatory planning for fall.
right.
And
And that's fluid. That's the key
it's
to
totally
this whole
fluid.
thing.
It
Has
is. It
to be
is.
fluid.
The important thing for me is that we do this together. And I encourage parents to reach out to us and to tell us things that they're hoping to see, any concerns they may have, any questions. I've had parents reach out to me to get connected to resources. Please continue to do that because, yes, through UF IFAS, I have a statewide outreach. There are folks in Gainesville still hard at work helping to support me. So that means that I can reach out to those folks, and what I don't have at my fingertips, I have access to a whole group of experts at University of Florida. That's the great thing about being part of UF IFAS is that we have that. And then, of course, in our local community, we have great supports like Commissioner Messersmith and Dr. Reeve with Apalachee Center. And Dr. Reeve's organization has a presence in Wakulla County and has for many years. And that's really great that we have that resource here. I really glad that we got to do this today. And I think we may come back again over the summer and see how our summer programs are going and do a check-in again. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. Dr. Reeve, do we have anything slated for Mental Health Awareness Month?
We do, Dr. Pienta. Thank you for mentioning that. So May is traditionally Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have historically the folks in this region who deal a lot with mental health and substance use issues have gotten together. We've, for about 5 years now, we've formed something called the Mental Health Council of the Big Bend, which is a group of content experts. It's folks who are doing the work in the field like myself. It's folks from Florida State University and Florida A&M. It's folks with lived experience. And May is traditionally sort of our big month to do stuff. So we usually have what's called a Be Kind to Your Mind health fair somewhere. And we were planning on our third annual one of these, which of course we can't have now. So what we are doing is to do a series of videos that we're going to release. And the first one of those came out not too long ago. You can find those at our website, which is mentalhealthcouncil.org. And you can also find those on a Facebook page where we release a lot of information about tips for self-care during COVID and during the crisis. And that's coming from about 22 different organizations who've kind of come together to do this in the community. So we want to hear from folks too. We want to hear if there's issues that are going on, if there's help that we can, provide. We want to know about that. As Rachel mentioned, we do have an office in Wakulla County, and we have, as of a couple of years ago, we have a mobile response team, which in the event of mental health crises can come out working hand in hand with law enforcement during normal business hours. We'll send out a master's level counselor to folks' homes or on site, and after hours, if the police are called for mental health emergency, we actually go with them with a tablet that they can tune into our central receiving facility. So our number there is 1-800-342-0774. So that's 1-800-342-0774. There's people at the other end of that line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, master's level counselors who can really answer any question, help with any issue you have. And if there's a need for more on-site work, we'll have somebody in the community come talk to you. So we are looking forward to a different version of Mental Health Awareness Month, but we want to make sure that people know that for Apalachee Center especially, our doors are open. All of our offices are open. We are still available 24/7 in the event of either a mental health crisis or just the need for somebody to talk to. So thanks for following me on
That is great to know, Dr. Reeve. And when we repost this broadcast on Facebook later, I'll be adding some links and phone numbers into the post as well, so that people can have access to that. So if you didn't catch that when we said it, it will be posted later for you.
Terrific.
So first of all, thanks everybody this morning for doing this with us, and thank you to everybody out in Facebook land tuning in. So we will try to come to you periodically with programs like this. I have been posting Facebook updates and program announcements for you for the last month, and I will continue to be doing that as we transition into summer programming. So before we conclude this morning, we're going to wrap this up in the next moment or so, but I wanted to give Commissioner Messersmith and Dr. Reeve a chance just to say some parting words and before we continue our day today.
My parting words are this. I really believe that self-care is something that we should try to figure out to put in our routine, and that it shouldn't be something that we think about just because we don't feel like we have a routine. Self-care is very, very important, whether it's a cup of coffee, 5 minutes walking down your road, just pencil in some time in your routine for self-care.
I'd just echo what the commissioner said. This is a tough time. And even if you're home watching, playing on a computer or watching TV, it's still a tough time because there's a lot of anxiety backdropping everything. So it may not feel like you need it, but I think it's probably the time to treat yourself a little more nicely, even than you would ordinarily. And I also want to thank Dr. Pienta for putting this together. I think this is great. I think the work that Wakulla 4-H does is great. I appreciate Commissioner Messersmith kind of captaining the ship there along with Dr. Pienta. So you guys do some great work, and you're great partners. So appreciate you having me on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I am going to stop the Facebook Live feed now. Our panelists are going to be staying on the line just for a moment, but you will not see them after I stop the live feed. And excuse me while I get to that button, which takes a moment sometimes to load. So they're having to just stare at you while they do this.